Hey, this is Jaryd Krause, host of the Buying Online Businesses podcast. And in this episode, I'm talking with John Dykstra from Fat Stacks blog on how to build a portfolio of content sites. And John has a portfolio of content sites that are making him $80,000 per month. This episode is jam-packed with great chats around ad income versus affiliate income and why John prefers to stick with ad income over affiliate income. We also talk about hiring content writers versus using content services and what may be best for you. And then we did dive into how to naturally build backlinks. We're talking about natural backlink building, not outreach or specific backlink building through outreach, which can become, err on the side of black hat SEO strategies. And then we talk about how to increase user experience on our content sites, which helps us earn more ad revenue for our content sites if we're going down that route. So it's such an incredible episode. You're going to love it. Before we get stuck into this episode, I want to tell you that this podcast is not the only way that I can help you for free. I have my due diligence framework 2.0, which everybody's been raving about, which will help you with knowing what to look out for when buying a website, including questions to ask a seller and everything you need to know to get the information to complete a thorough due diligence. So just go to my site, buyingonlinebusinesses.com/free resources. And there's some other awesome resources there for you too. Let's get stuck into the episode. Today's episode is brought to you by us here at Buying Online Businesses. Let me ask, if you have an online business, have you ever thought of selling it? We're a thriving community of website investors who are cashed up and hungry to buy your online business. Our members are well trained in online business due diligence, allowing you a quick sale of your business. And because we only want to provide a better service to our members, we're opening up the doors to allow you to sell your online business to us free of charge. So if you have an online business that's making a minimum net profit of $5,000 per year and you're thinking of selling your business, head over to our Sell Your Business page at buyingonlinebusinesses.co/sell your business. There will be a link in the show notes, and you can also find this page from our site, buyingonlinebusinesses.com. That's buyingonlinebusinesses.com. Now, guys, before we start today's episode, I have an important and exciting announcement for you. I'm hosting the first ever Buying and Building Online Businesses Summit, and I'd love for you to join. We have 12 world-class speakers doing 7, 8, and 9 figures in business. We have some of the world's best website brokers, SEOs, and digital marketers. Now, guys, this summit is a free event, and we're going live on the 1st of February, 2020, and it's a 4-day event. And each day we're going to have 3 speakers. And this summit is being designed to equip you with the best principles, strategies, and tactics to buy websites whilst minimizing your risk and to also grow those businesses so you can become wildly successful with those websites you do buy. And the reason this summit's really important is because what was working in 2019 won't be working in 2020 and beyond. Because what happened in the past, and you can see in the online space, things change very quickly. So whether you're a first-time buyer wanting to buy your first ever website or you have multiple websites you want to grow, you're going to be able to get access to the best mentors in the industry who are going to be able to feed you little gold nuggets throughout this whole event. These are going to be strategies you'll be able to use in 2020 and well beyond to ensure you can achieve your lifestyle goals and your financial goals. So guys, go to the show notes right now and grab yourself a ticket to the Buying and Building Online Businesses Summit. There'll be a link there so you can get access and register for the summit. And now let's get started with today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Buying Online Businesses podcast. John, thank you so much for coming on. Great to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Jaryd. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to digging into all things content. I'm really excited for this one. A little bit selfishly as well, because I've just bought a content site. I've got another offer going, which we're going to purchase another one. I'm ready to ramp up and talk some cool things content. A lot of my audience as well, John, content site buyers. And I find that most people that get into this space start off buying content sites and use that as a good platform to get experience in our space. I want to ask you about your portfolio. You've got how many sites? Is it 7, 8, 25, 200? You got quite a
No,
portfolio, that's for sure.
17, but some are really small, some are smallish, and then just a handful are teetering on the bigger side of things. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a range. Most of them are on the smaller side though.
yeah, no, you're doing great numbers. If people want to check out John's highlight reel and how well he's doing, can I mention how like your latest sort of update and what you're doing in terms of revenue from your content sites, or how about you share that with us?
Oh yeah, sure. I just do monthly income reports on just those niche sites, just a few of them anyway. It's been good. It's already been a while since I did last one. I think something like $80,000 a month from the niche site. So yeah, they're growing really well. It's been a good year this year for sure.
Yeah, man, it's so many people online. It's crazy. It's been a good year for I think most of us online, in fact. So your content sites, we mostly ads. What's your, I wanted to ask you, ads versus affiliate income. How do you decide on which and kind of why?
Yeah, I'd say at least 90% ads. It's just a lot easier. I suppose I could do more affiliate, but I just, this works for me. It works
Mm,
really well. Affiliate can be awesome, but you need to really target very specific keywords for that. What we call in the industry buyer intent. Otherwise it's useless. And I'm just not a big fan of going for that. It's not that I have anything against it. I think it's good. I just kind of prefer to just go after more information-based, non-buyer intent keywords, and it tends to be more interesting to write, easier to do keyword research, a lot less competition for sure. I don't build links to my sites, at least to now. I don't. Maybe in the future it'll change. I don't expect it to. But so, if you're going to go for like really cranking up a big affiliate marketing business from a website, not email, that's totally separate. You need to rank some pretty hard keywords. And that's not really my business model. And it's not my area of expertise. And so I just don't do much of that. But when an affiliate link will fit and I can promote a particular product, I certainly include it in the sites. It's not like I've got some ethical stance against affiliate marketing or anything like that. I use it for sure. It's just, it doesn't convert very well. So I rely on the ads to do the heavy earning lifting, and they do a good job. So I'm launching on a monologue here, but I'll just say this. Maybe 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, I think ad revenue is pretty good, but it's like the golden era of ad revenue right now. I mean, we've got like networks out there that can get you really good revenue per thousand visitors, like right up there with half decent affiliate marketing pages, I would think, which is nuts. And it's so easy to do because you just publish on anything you want and get traffic and it makes money. So it's great.
Oh, spot on. I love your philosophy and your intention with your portfolio and your sites, and really creating amazing content for the user. Personally, I like the idea of going with mostly ads because I don't want to have to do the hard sell. And not that affiliate needs to be hard sell. Like, you can be very valuable and very informative, and you can help prevent buyers fatigue and help them make a educated and informed decision. But why, this the competition is pretty fierce, and I'm all about the long game and not trying to squeeze out dollars of people as soon as I can. I notice on a lot of my client sites with their Amazon commissions that they're making most of their commissions on other products that they sell through Amazon or they purchase through Amazon. And it's not just directly through what is through their site, the affiliate links they click on in their site. Now, I don't know where I was going with that. I think I wanted to talk about the other platforms with ads, because I've got a bit of an example. I'm looking at purchasing a site. I think I mentioned to you before I hit record, and the value add that I can see is, they're using AdSense, and their earnings per monthly view aren't as high as what I'm pretty confident I can achieve with a partner like Ezoic. And you speak about Ezoic quite a lot. And we're in a bit of a program with Ezoic, and I've actually loved the experience with it. What's your experience being with Ezoic?
Yeah, I used to use them for a lot of sites for quite a long time. They're great. They took like going from AdSense to Zoic was awesome in terms of increase in ad revenue. It was crazy. I like how you could split test. You know, it's like if you're reluctant, you can actually show just AdSense 50% of the time, and then show whatever Zoic's going to serve up. And the Zoic will tell you what earns more. And in fact, the Zoic will continue to display the AdSense ad as long as it out earns. So it's kind of a no-brainer. I got nothing but good things to say with the Zoic. I did move to AdThrive early this year, and just for a couple reasons. I can't say definitively I earned more money with AdThrive because I earn really good money with the Zoic, but I do like the hands-free aspect of AdThrive. That like they basically just handle everything. And I've got a rep, and I got questions or need anything, I just shoot off an email. It's like it's taken care of same day. So the service is like phenomenal. The other big reason I went to AdThrive is I actually moved all my sites to Infinite Scroll this year. Infinite Scroll is where the next post pulls in, and you just, you know, your visitors just keep going. And for the type of sites I publish, this was huge. Like we're talking like the lowest increase in time on site I got from Infinite Scroll was like mid 50% increase.
Wow.
That alone is a huge metric. Like
Wow.
increase your time on site by that much is phenomenal. I actually got a site that increased time on site by over 300%.
Whoa.
Switching to Infinite Scroll. And that's just because it's sort of like I publish on fun topics, and they just keep scrolling down the list, right? So another page comes in, and they stay on the site longer. And so that was a massive win. Like as far as I'm concerned, the most important metric in terms of user experience is time on site. It's more important than page views per user. It's just sort of like, you know, that's it. You can't argue it. That's how long they're on your site. And the longer they're there, the better, right? So AdThrive can show ads flawlessly on Infinite Scroll. Zoic couldn't. They could do the first page, but they can't do the subsequent pages. And obviously that's not a good thing, right? So anyways, AdThrive could do it, and it works really great. So that's a big reason I went to AdThrive as well.
I love the idea of Infinite Scroll of, you know, it's a win-win for your users and for you, because you're adding so much value to people through your content. They're willing to stay on the site, which means you've got more digital space to have ads on, and it's just a win-win. And I really love that, rather than, you know, some other methods and other models. So Infinite Scroll, is this a WordPress plugin that you used? Is it, you know, something, a theme? Like, how did you go to Infinite Scroll on your sites?
I tested quite a bit. It's a theme. I'm on a Bimmer theme. It's available at ThemeForest. I don't own it. I'm not affiliate. Well, I'm an affiliate for them, but I don't own it or anything. It's just I tried probably 4 or 5 different themes that had Infinite Scroll. You got to distinguish, because there's a lot of themes out there that'll say Infinite Scroll, but the Infinite Scroll only applies to category or tag archive pages. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Infinite Scroll for individual posts where the next post will come in. I don't actually do Infinite Scroll on the archive pages, so I want to make that distinction. But Bimmer, like, just its Infinite Scroll is nothing came close to how smooth and like flawless it was with working. Sometimes you get a pause, right? If it's not very good, it pauses and the wheel grinds, and then the next post will slide into view. With Bimmer, you don't get that. It's just like bang, it's just there, and it's set up. The other thing you got to pay attention with Infinite Scroll is the SEO setup. Okay, not all Infinite Scroll is SEO friendly. Most probably are right now, but Bimmer's definitely is. In fact, my search traffic exploded after putting Bimmer on. Like those improved metrics are game changers for a site. So nothing but a big win for me. But I'll say this, it's not ideal for every site. Like sometimes I kick around the idea of putting Infinite Scroll in fat stacks, but I don't. First of all, I get a lot of like already really long time on site on that site. But there are some types of sites where I think users like the ability to be able to click around, navigate with clicks and menus, rather than just sort of like mindlessly ripping down a scroll, right? So you got to think about, like, is your site the type of site that users would appreciate the Infinite Scroll? Or should you provide more of the traditional navigation with links and menus so that your users have more control about where they're going to go on your site? So you have to think about that. And yeah, but that's why FatStack says it. So if you go there, you're not gonna see Infinite Scroll, and that's intentional.
Yeah, you've just got better navigation, and which also provides great, internal linking and stuff like that. What other ways, for somebody who's just say purchase a content site, what are some of the other ways that you would say is a good way to go around and creating a better user experience on their site, other than, keeping people on site with infinite scroll and internal linking?
Well, aside from improving the content, nothing really. Like I have tried everything under the sun to keep people longer on site, and some things I would get like a really minor little win, like a couple percent, but nothing really does it other than good content and infinite scroll. It's been
Cool.
my experience. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I do things like I use image. I'm liberal with images. I put a lot in my content. You're going to create more real estate, digital real estate, so more ads will show up. That's an easy thing to do. I'm not going to put so many in that like it makes the content, you can't read it. It's just, unless it's a gallery. I mean, it's got to make sense, right? You got to enhance the content, not take away from it. Tables, charts, stuff like that, that's useful, these sort of things. That's all good for content, makes a better user experience and keeps people longer on the site. But
Yeah.
that's really about it.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere in one of your pieces of the content that, having quite a long form piece of content is really good to help people stay on site with more images and, video, tables, charts, all that sort of stuff, and creating great media for people as well, which also helps with, Pinterest and sharing it on socials. I want to stick with the content theme here, because creating content there's so much noise out there, and there's so many strategies that people use with creating content. I'd like to ask you about your quality versus quantity for posting equation. You've got a team, and people starting out may not have a team, and they want to sort of ramp up to learning how to build a team so they can post more, and they don't want to, you know, take away from the quality that is posting. What would you say is, a good sort of, what's your equation with quality content versus posting regularly? How
I
often would
think
you post, and, what would you put more resources into getting quality versus posting more often, or how does that work for you?
yeah, I would put more into quality, although I also do quite high volume, and I'm mindful of costs. It's not like I'm going to spend 20 cents a word on every article that I publish. That wouldn't work. You do things, you try a lot. I've tried a lot of different things, a lot of content services. So right now, probably like I'm getting a lot of content from in-house writers, and I've had in-house writers do some content over the last year or two, and it's been excellent because once they know how you like your content, and it's easy, you don't really have to, like, they produce really good content. You don't have to edit and vet everything very carefully because they're good writers, they're professionals. And so I found that that's been a huge one. So I've recently hired a lot more in-house writers and moving a lot more of the content to them. It's very cost effective because you're getting rid of the middle person, like some
Yeah.
service that brings publishers and writers together, and they're taking out 30% of that entire exchange, right? So
Mm.
it's a win-win for the writer and the publisher, but there are some downsides to it. I mean, you've got to train each writer individually. You need to hire. I mean, hiring is, yesterday I went through about 80 resumes,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's never a lot of fun. I'm grateful that I get a lot of applicants, but you got to comb through them, and you're going to hire people that don't work out. So then, it's a process. It's a lot more upfront legwork, but once you have some good people writing, like, it's really a great experience because you can like let them have their own authorship, their own profile, access to the back end. And it's sort of like, here you go, that's your column, like, do it. Here's a list of topics. In fact, I always ask every writer I work directly with, I'm like, hey, if you have topics you actually would prefer to write about, just send them to me. I'm open to anything. I want you to write the best stuff you can, and if you like a topic, I bet that's going to be a great article. So, and then they all do. They all be like, oh, that's awesome, here's 20 articles, and I might cross a few off the list if they're not that great of an idea, but for the most part, I'd say like 85% off, and just like, go to it, and they're awesome. So Well, once
That's
you get in a workflow, it's really great. I'm really liking it.
that's amazing to give them the incentive to come up with the work themselves, makes your job easier. But like you said, they love it. Like it's going to make them produce better content, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because they're, it's a topic they like. Like I go into fairly broad niches. If you publish a site in something very, very specific, let's say like bonsai trees or something, right? Like you're pretty limited with the breadth of content you would write. But my sites are very broad within a particular niche. And so there's a lot of angles you could take. So I'm like, anything that's relevant to this site, go to it. Like run the topics by me, put together 10 or 20, and I'll be good with most of them. And so I've been doing that, and it's great because saves me time, keyword research. We still do it, and I always have a list of topics. But if they can do both the keyword research and they appreciate it, that makes my life easier too.
Yeah, for sure. And so for somebody like, just for example, somebody that's just bought a website, a content site, would you say, because you've dabbled in so many, like you said before, is hiring services and building out a team and stuff like that. Would you say to somebody that's first purchased a site is to learn the niche a little bit and write some blogs to learn the niche before they hire a pro? Or would you say hire a content service to start creating some content and then sort of see what they're doing well, what works for your site, and then sort of reverse engineer that and go in-house with it and hire that way? What would you say is, that's a tough question, but each
Yeah, I typically start all my sites from scratch. And back when I started, I wrote everything for years. I joke, but it's true. I've written over 5 million words of content over the years.
wow.
And, I just cranked out as fast as much as I could until I hit a certain amount of money that I could hire a writer to help me out. And so that's how I did it. And by that point, I enter niches I'm interested in for the most part. So I'm interested, I know something about it. And so I can, I'm pretty knowledgeable if I write it myself. And then because I get to know the niches as well, and especially since I've written for like some of the earlier sites I started, once you get to know it really well, it's pretty easy to come up with good topics going forward. And then I would hire. So, how much expertise do they need? It's hard to say. It kind of depends on the complexity of an article. I've like done casting calls for or sought out people with actual credentials because that's what the content would need. Now, that's not all the time. And in other cases, I wouldn't. It's an article, maybe it's an opinion piece, maybe it's something that's doesn't require all that much expertise. So it really does vary. Yeah, I don't really have a sort of universal approach to how I bootstrap my sites up. And it's
Yeah.
evolving. Like this whole in-house writer thing started last year. I have friends and colleagues who have been working with in-house for years and they've sworn by it. And I always just sort of like, what I'm doing is working, it's good enough. And I didn't want to do all the upfront work. But eventually I did hire someone and it was like, this is such a great experience. Like they just kind of go with it and the quality is really, really good. And so then I hired another person part-time and again, same experience. So now I'm just really kind of moving in that direction.
I think the more our space evolves and the more prominent content sites, they're still very prominent. There's so many writers out there, right? It's insane how many VAs there are that you can go away and hire. And the more attention that comes to our space means like you're going to be able to hire people that have experience have been writing for other content sites and have taken their, you can take their experience from what they have done with other content businesses. For example, we've just hired somebody who had worked for, ran a 30-person team for a content site, and they're teaching us, which is absolutely excellent. And, learning some of the things that they're doing and then within our guidelines and our parameters and stuff like that. And I think, you can start hiring some pretty smart operators that can make your life easier without having to go down the route of using a content service, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I don't really have someone that sort of oversees everything, but yeah, there's always somebody who's more capable than yourself, and me included. I would say the writers I've hired are better writers than me. I'm a mediocre writer, at best. And so it's great to have writers who are really excellent at what they do. Just makes the site better.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust myself with my writing skills. That's for sure. Even though that I started out the same as you, right? I started out with a travel blog and writing stories and getting to know my own writing style and stuff like that. But still, it's been a few years in between that, that's for sure. I know that you're so big on just creating amazing content and making sure you can have a great user experience and getting natural links rather than just, doing the SEO route of link building and all that sort of stuff. How do you sort of, what's some of the things that you do to gain natural links to your site without having to do outreach?
It's really just focusing on the content itself. At the end of the day, I find that general media inserted into post will do well. Images, I license every image I use, or I get permission from the copyright holder. We spend an hour or two every week, one of my VAs just contacting people to ask permission to use images. And then, because that's a way to get really great images. And then what happens, it's not our intention, but it happens, is we get really cool images for some of the sites, and other sites will take them and link to my site. Okay. Now I'm not saying that that's a great thing, because I'm not the copyright holder, right?
Yeah.
But where they link to, I put the attribution to the original site with the link and it's do follow and all that, because I think proper referencing should be do follow. That's what Google wants, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess they get to benefit from, but okay, that's just one example. But even like licensed images, I have just simply licensed that anybody could get. Well, you got to pay for it, but other sites will just take them and link to you. So that's cool. Not every site will, but enough do. So that's just one really simple example. And the other thing is just, creating really interesting visuals, charts, tables, custom illustrations. I have a guy who just does nothing but custom illustrations all month long, and we just come up with ideas and put them into our content, and they get ripped off left, right, and center. And I publish those with the intention that they get ripped off, because I want people to use it and say, thanks such and such, with a link to the site or source, whatever. So that's essentially what I'm doing, and it works quite well. There's two downsides to it, though. First off, it takes a long time. You can't just like publish a few images and expect the links to be pouring. It's not going to happen. It's a really long-term play, like a couple of years for things to start happening. And the other thing is, you don't really get to control where your link's going. Okay, so I totally get why people would do outreach and hire link building services, because you want your links to go to your money pages, right? I mean, that's obvious. You need to rank for those, and they're the competitive keywords. That's what's going to make you all the money. When you do it the way I do it, you're typically not going to track links to those types of pages. It's just not really going to happen. So I get it. So that's where, my model differs. And that's where the display ads come in, because it doesn't matter.
Money pages and
gets as much traffic as possible. It's still going to make money.
That's why I like this method, is because there's a big distinction in our space between people that want money very quickly and results very quickly. And there's people that are in it for the long term. And I'm a huge believer those people that are in it for the long term are going to have better businesses and be better operators because of it, because you're in it for the long term. Like, you're all about going, all right, cool, I can play the long term here. My site is going to be very stable. If Google finds out that I have gone away and done some specific link building that sort of, urges on the, side of black hat, or like done some outreach that's not suitable for the algorithm as they change, they see that these age sites such as yours that are so much more valuable because you're in it for the long term and you're really got your site tuned to have a great user experience rather than just have a site tuned to just be a money-making machine. And I think that's going to, really become more prevalent and more seen as our space evolves. And that's why I love this natural link building strategy of yours. It's excellent. So I guess we could stick to the SEO side. I'm so big on creating great content, user experience, and all that sort of stuff. Maybe there are some things that you do within SEO, like I'm sure you stick to a very regimented keyword research process. Are there any other things that you do to ensure that, you can do your best to be optimized for algorithms without it being too, trying to get some quick wins out of it and erring on the black hat? Anything that you do that helps you get ranked?
Yeah, okay. It starts with keyword research for sure. I do tend to go for the lower competition keywords. Traffic gets more traffic if you're patient. And what I mean by that is I would rather rank in the top 3 for a fairly low search keyword than gunning for a higher search keyword, but not in the top 3. And the reason for that is once you start getting some traffic, that's going to get you the link. Eventually that piece is going to get noticed. And if it's good, other sites might reference it or use one of the assets we talked about previously for link building. And that happens enough, you start growing your site authority, which is going to in turn grow the traffic to, no, I don't want to say all of your articles, but more than one. Site authority is just going to be overall a good thing for your
With
traffic.
good internal linking, it helps, right?
Yeah, internal linking is one of those things that I don't really, everybody says it's great, and I believe it's great, and I do it, but it's hard to know for sure how to track exactly how much of a benefit it has. I'm kind of being a devil's advocate here because I do internal linking, and I'm very mindful of it, and I'll go back and there's a lot of content that I haven't properly internal linked, so I've still got some catch up to do, and I'll do it because I think it's worth it. But exactly how much it's worth it, I don't really know. It's hard to know for sure. But yeah, I think on the balance, it's definitely a good thing to do. I think it makes sense. I think it's good for users. I think it's good for SEO. So yeah, it makes sense. And I do it. I'm just sort of musing out there that it's impossible to really track how beneficial it actually is. But I do it. I use combination of Link Whisper, which is more of an automated tool to help speed it up, and then, as well as some manual where sometimes it just needs to be more nuanced. So yeah, I do that. I write for the reader first, and I tell my writers to, that's another thing with in-house writers I find is they're actual writers rather than SEO writers. Anybody who ever applies for any job that I post or anywhere, if they use the word SEO writer or SEO writing, I don't want it. I don't want it because I know what I'm going to get, right? I'm going to get keyword stuffed, lousy regurgitated content. And I know it's a generalization, but I don't like that. I'd rather the writer just be the writer. And if I got to maybe do a little bit of tweaking with some headings, obviously the titles often I have to change because they don't really know keyword research, and rightfully so. They're writers. I want them to write a good article. I don't, in fact, sometimes it's great when they don't know SEO because they just write a good article for the audience. And I like that. And I can go in and within 30 seconds, make a few tweaks here and there, and I'm done, right? So yeah, that to me is important for on-site. Is just really natural articles. I'm not all that analytical about this stuff.
Yeah, it's your model is if it's great read, people are going to keep reading. But if you put those parameters in place of structured, make sure you stuff this keyword in here and get this in here and one each paragraph and blah, 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 it's not going to be a naturally written piece of content that's great for the eyeballs. It's going to be optimized for SEO, not going to be good for you, the wanting to have a good user experience and keep people on the site for as long as possible for ad revenue, right?
Yeah, it's true. But like I said, I'm a little bit mindful of, sometimes I'll tweak a heading or a subheading and make it a question that could conceivably be asked by somebody and try to rank for stuff like that. But I don't go overboard. I think if somebody's trying to rank for a really big keyword and they're doing link building and they're putting a lot of time and money into a particular article, I think that's when that real in-depth analysis about your keyword usage and all that probably makes a difference. It could be the difference between spot 1 and 3 maybe, which could be a tremendous amount of money. So I don't really know all of that stuff because I don't really pay attention to it. But if you prefer to go for bigger keywords, I suspect that's all probably worth learning and doing.
Yeah, awesome. John, what would you say to somebody who wants to be heavily invested in content sites and having a portfolio of content sites? What would you say to them Like, what advice would you give to them in terms of like where they should focus their energy at in the beginning and then start learning more of?
Well, I would start with one site. Don't start with more than one until here's how you know when you start site number two. Site one earns enough money for you to live off of at your current standard of living, plus it spits off enough money to reinvest to grow that site. And then it spits off enough to actually finance another site. Okay, so in terms of how many dollars per month is going to vary tremendously depending on your circumstances. If you live in a place that has a lower cost of living or somewhere that's higher, that's going to make a big difference and so on. Okay, but what you don't want to do is try to grow 3 sites. The first 1 to 3 years is really difficult. The growth is very slow. But if you just hammer away and really build out an awesome site, it's years, 2 through 5 where your growth's going to happen. But if you have 3 sites that you just can't like put enough effort into getting them to the stages where they're going to grow fast, you could end up with 3 sites for like 7 years that really don't go anywhere because you're just too distracted. So really focus on that one until it's like earning tons of cash. And then once you have a lot of extra money coming in, then you can reinvest and put together a team for sites 2, 3, and 4, and so on. Okay, so that's really important because a lot of people try to be like, oh, well, I'm interested in this and this and this, so I'm going to do 3 sites. And I think that's a great idea, but I think it's a really bad idea because you're not going to get anywhere. It's a lot of work in the beginning. I also recommend, unless you're a terrible writer, to actually write some of the stuff, especially if you're a half decent writer. I think it served me very, very well that I wrote a lot of content. It saved me a lot of money. Content's not cheap. And I basically just bootstrapped the sucker with sweat equity for a number of years until I was able to hire someone to start contributing content to it. And I think you learn how to really get familiar with your niche, which helps with keyword research. I think you also learn how your content should be structured. You develop a voice and a style that you're able to then train other writers to do. So I just think that's worth doing. But if you're not a good writer, but you got the money, by all means, hire a writer.
That's absolutely awesome. So many things to pick apart in that. And I would say, coming back to the foundation of what you were saying, is that if you've got too much on, it's, all the sites are going to be affected. For example, a story, I bought one business, my first business. I already had 2 other businesses, by the way. I was like, all right, I'm going to buy a business because it's making more money and it'll be easier. And then I thought, all right, to make the same amount of money, I just need to buy another business. And then I bought another one. So I bought 3 businesses and I had my time focused between 3 different businesses. And I didn't do each business justice and didn't really optimize it as much as I could to get it, tuned and churning to produce not just a great income return for me, but to produce a great product and result for the user as well. And so I strongly stand by you in that. Stick with one business and use that as a great platform to build an income. Use it as a great testing ground. Use it to learn how to build your processes, your systems, so you can slowly replace your income and then have some more money and time, which are these 2 very important resources to go away and invest in another business, whether it's a startup like you do or buying one. I think I'm so glad and so grateful that you shared that, John, because much people are trying to, like me, what I was, is trying to get it happening overnight and try to do too many things. And that can really stuff us up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'm fortunate I didn't really fall down that trap early on. I didn't start a second site till, probably should have started it earlier actually, but I just wanted to make sure that you got to anticipate ups and downs in this business too. That's the other thing, right? You might have 3 months where revenue's great and it's peaking, and when you get to like that, you think, well, it's only going to go up, but you know what? It's going to go down. Mine has been an up and down sort of. I mean, the overall trajectory is up, but within a given year, it goes up and down. Even years, some years a down year compared to a previous year. These things happen. That's just part of growing. So I find it really interesting. Regardless what niche you're in, and if you have Ahrefs or something where you can see the historical traffic to a site, check out other sites, the big sites in your niche, like the big ones, and look at their traffic profile over like 5 years or longer. And you'll see even the biggest sites in the web in any niche, they'll have years where the traffic went down and then it went back up and then it goes down. And when I'm not talking down like by a little bit, I'm talking like they'll lose like 2 million visitors a month sort of down. Now they maybe have like 6 or 7 million visitors a month. And so you're thinking, well, they still got 4
still
million.
20%.
It's still a big site, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they also have a lot more overhead. I mean, it's just a bigger scale. And so my point is that the biggest and arguably the best sites in the niches also have these big ups and downs. So it's not just like if you lose a bunch of traffic for a time period, it's not a personal thing. Like it happens to all the sites out there. It's just that up and down of this business. It sucks because it's hard to plan.
Yeah.
But be prepared.
Yeah. It does suck because it's hard to plan, like you said, but if you can write it out, it's, and stick it out, I think it's totally worth it. John, thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything you did in this episode. Where can people find out more about you, Fat Stacks, and everything else that's going on?
Yeah, it's fatstacksblog.com. So it's the main site. You can pretty much find out access to the YouTube channel or podcast or email. Everything's there.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jaryd.